Hey everyone, Afrodo Reviews here, helping you determine if that book is worth reading of a second breakfast or deserves the fiery pit of Mount Doom. Apologies, with the new camera, it picks up light a lot better, so I'm not really sure how well it's going to work out. I'm just letting you guys know now. The lighting may change here and there. Right now, on my screen, it looks like I'm really washed out. So, another month has passed, my birth month. A year older, and a dozen more books to read. Sometimes I wish for immortality, simply so I could read all the time. And again, downsides of immortality. Anyways, let's talk about the July wrap-up. In July, you more or less saw my reading journey play out on screen before you, and me trying a new, less constrained style that was sort of a mix between what I had started with and what I had been doing lately, before July. In those videos, I basically summed about how I felt about books that, and how I felt about them on a reread, and how I felt about them when I first read them as a kid. And for the most part, I felt that they all held up about as well as I expected them to. A little less than I hoped for Lightning Thief and Aragon, but much better with The Land, and about the same as Holes. But I made those points clear in the videos. If you want to watch, I would suggest checking them out. Another book I was reading, those of you who've read my TBR know that I have a little Miscellaneous Tbr of books that I read in the background, in addition to the books that I'm currently reading for the reviews, was Time Salvager. I didn't quite finish it yet. It's a lot more dense than I was expecting it to be. So, unfortunately, I can't talk about it too much yet, but I may talk about it when I'm done. I have a couple things to say on it, both good and bad. So, it is a fun read. I'll do a full review on it sometime in the future. Maybe. I'm not going to promise anything. As for the style of my videos, as I like to talk about in these wrap-ups, I don't have much to say either. I think I'll be keeping to the current style for another month. I like it, and the scripts are a little easier to write than I expected. I didn't quite manage to get any of the video essays I wanted out this month, and I do apologize for that, but I am currently working on one at the moment. It should theoretically be done this month, but I'm not going to promise. But it has to do with fan fictions. And it's a collab, so take that for what you will. Since I don't really have much to wrap up about, I talked about my books pretty well as I read them. It was a pretty good reading month for me. I got the 4 books done, as well as a good portion of one of my other books, The Time Salvager. But without that, I guess I will move on to August. My TBR for August, the books I plan to talk about. The Miscellaneous Tbr is pretty much going to stay the same, so I probably won't go into that. But yeah, for August, I'm going to do randomness. Basically, I'm just going to plug a bunch of genres into a randomizer wheel and spin it. And whatever genre comes up, I'll go find a book I feel like talking about, or feel like reading then talking about. Since I'm mostly doing this because I don't have any significant events in August for me. There's no grand thing that I celebrate in August. For me, it was back to school month, so that was pretty much what August was for me for the longest time. And after that, it's nothing. It's just hot because I live in a desert. Right now, it's 101, and that's when it's extremely cloudy. Okay, so let's start. Let's not cut it away. Let's not get distracted. Let's just get into this TBR. For the first Monday of August, I will be reviewing a YA novel. Great start. And the YA novel I choose is The Compound by S.A. Bodine. At least I think that's how you say her name. Safe or sorry, Eli and his family have lived in the underground compound for 6 years. The world they knew is gone, and they've become accustomed to their new life. Accustomed, but not happy. For Eli, no amount of luxury can stifle the dull routine of living in the same place, with only his 2 sisters, only his father and mother, doing the same thing day after day after day. As problems with their carefully planned existence threaten to destroy their sanctuary, and their sanity, Eli can't help but wonder if he'd rather take his chances outside. Eli's father built the compound to keep them safe. But are they safe? Or sorry? So, I picked this book up at a thrift store, which, again, is where I get most of my books, because it sounded pretty interesting. I guess it's just one of those, it caught me with its little side thing. I picked it up and I'm like, you know what, that sounds interesting enough. I'll pick it up, see what it's like. I haven't heard anything about it, at least as far as it goes, but, I mean, it seems fine. So we'll see how it holds up. On to the next book. It will be... a debut novel. Now, this one I know. I will be reviewing SWF, Trials of Fantasy, by RLG. Now, this was a book written by a friend of my older sister's, and recently self-published on Amazon. I was asked to read it and present it on this channel, for better or worse. The premise is sort of like an interdimensional Hunger Games, if that makes sense. I'll just read you the synopsis. Every year, thousands enter. Only 3 return. Its popularity keeps it alive, and the prize money keeps contestants coming, creating yearly entertainment of death and wealth. Paige has never been a fan of the constant death aired for all to see, but never misses an episode because of her sickly brother, Kip's obsession. Hope find Paige's family in the form of a surgery that can save Kip's life. Taking on every job they can find, it's a race against the clock, and time is not on their side. So when Paige is met with an opportunity that can save her brother's life, she doesn't hesitate. Entering the final void, the new season of SWF has begun, and Paige is a contestant. So, let's hope it lives up to the hype. On to the next one. Spin the wheel! A classic. Ooh. I have a ton of classics back there, as you can see. Right down there, just below where you see all those books piled up on the shelf, is my little classic shelf. I got a ton of them. So, I'm going to go choose a couple. Or one. I'm going to go choose one. And what I choose is Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu. I think that's how you pronounce it. One of the vampire novels that existed before Dracula, Carmilla is the tale of a young woman who grows close to a mysterious guest with their family, only to find out that this guest may be more dangerous than she anticipated. Carmilla is an 1872 Gothic novella by Irish author Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu, and one of the early works of vampire fiction. The story is narrated by a young woman preyed upon by a female vampire named Carmilla, later revealed to be Mircalla, Countess Karnstein. Karnstein. Carmilla is an anagram of Mircalla. Thanks for spelling that out. The character's prototypical... This is not a synopsis. This is just describing the series. And with really bad font. Look at the spaces between some of these words. With the contemporary views of homosexuality, the story is... So, yeah, I basically summed it up pretty well with my little description. I don't need to read the synopsis to you. So I'm just going to move on. Now, I chose this mostly because I've been interested in vampire fiction and how it evolved from pierogies vampire into that. So reading up on one of the vampire fictions before even Dracula had become a mainstay, before it had even come out actually, should help with that. Now, if my calendar isn't wrong, that means we have 2 more spins. So let's get to it! A sci-fi horror. So, this one was actually a lot harder than I anticipated to find, as I don't own many horrors in general that don't have Stephen King as an author, and most of what I thought qualified was actually more of a thriller with sci-fi elements. So, rather than a true horror. I don't know what the big distinction is, but a distinction is often made. so I stuck with it for now. But eventually, I was able to dig up The Relic by Preston Child. Well, by Douglas, Preston, and Lincoln Child. I call it Preston Child because it's easier. Now, I know this was made into a movie sometime back, but I haven't actually seen it, so I'll be going into this book completely blind, with a fresh view on it. The synopsis. Just days before a massive expedition opens at the popular New York Museum of Natural History, visitors are being savagely murdered in the museum's dark hallways and secret rooms. Autopsies indicate that their killer cannot be human, but the museum director's plan to go ahead with the big bash to celebrate the new exhibition in spite of the murder. Museum researcher Marco Green must find out who, or what, is doing the killing. But can she do it in time to stop the massacre? So yeah, I hope it holds up. Sounds interesting. So, now, we only have a single book left. What will it be? Who will come out on top? Who knows? Oh wait, I do. Click. A D&D novel! Now, huge confession. I'm a massive D&D fan. Like, major. I own most of the 5e books, and I have, on more than one occasion, made an entire homebrew world for my players. Sadly, I'm also one of the forever DMs of my group, so I don't get to play D&D as much as I run it, but that's another thing altogether. For this book, I'll choose one of the most famous D&D series to see where it all began. The Legend of Dritz, Homeland, by R.A. Salvatore, which is how I was told his name was said. Station is the paradox of the world of my people, the limitation of our power within the hunger for power. It is gained through treachery, and invites treachery against those who gain it. Those most powerful in Minzo Baranzan, I think that's how you say it, spend their days watching over their shoulders, defending against daggers that would come find their backs. Their deaths usually come from the front. The Legend of Dritz begins here. I've heard a lot about Dritz as time goes on, and for those of you who've heard about him too, most of it centers around him being a godforsaken Mary Sue character who popularized the edgy rogue archetype at the table. Even though I'm pretty sure, based on what I've seen, he's mechanically a Beastmaster Ranger, but anyways, let's see if the reputation is well-deserved or merely a fabrication. And we'll decide that when the review comes. And with that, that's the main TBR. Now, the Miscellaneous Tbr, like I said, will mostly remain the same as it is. I'm going to keep going at these books until I manage to finish them. But they're of a lesser priority to me than the ones I will be reviewing for the channel. If I finish them and I feel it's worth talking about, I'll probably make a video on them and release it on a Thursday or Friday, not on the main schedule. I will also be attempting to release the video essay, the fanfiction one, this month, but again, I'm not going to promise. If I don't manage it, I'll find another topic to upload to fill that gap. Because I do, like I said, I do want to start releasing stuff that's not just book reviews, but related to reading and stuff. Now, apart from that, no challenge this time, guys. I wanted to keep it nice and simple and just, focus on the TBR and the wrap-up this time. So, with that, remember, with every book comes an adventure, and every adventure is worth having, even if it's a bad one.